Interesting stories making headlines this morning. Maltiti is already seated with a gentleman to delve deeply into the stories. Maltiti, that's the bar?
Nah, you didn't forget. And that's a good
I nearly.
I'm supposed to say mehuniye.
Otoden.
Mehuniye.
It's a mehuye.
Oh my goodness. Okay, but I'm trying. I'll learn the fancy. I actually have family who are fancy, so I have to. Thank you so much, Valencia, for those big stories on the front pages of the newspapers. It's time for the headlines, and my guests are seated. Just before I introduce them to you, I'm sure you're seeing the water on my table. This is the Bream River from the experiments that the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, had about using some chemicals, copper liquid, I believe, to clean our water bodies. And so it shows the difference 30 minutes later versus 24 hours later, what it becomes. So this is clean water that you can drink. I don't know if you're confident enough to be able to drink this, but it said that it's no longer polluted of mercury, cyanide, and all of that. And then this is the River Pra, which we sampled years ago, also sitting here. And as it is, this is its current state. Well, let's dive into the big issues. So this is the River Bream yesterday, just before I cross over to all the big issues on Get Fund and the funding Parliament has allocated to it, employment, and Galamsey is big all the time. So these are like samples of the water was cordoned off the main river, and this sample was treated with the chemical that the EPA says Ghana needs $35 million to be able to clean the polluted Bream River. 35 million. And how many rivers do we have in the country again, which are heavily polluted with metals and chemicals? It's the question that we keep asking. So that's the Bream River. And I'm sure this will still continue. It's not the end. We'll see light of day, what the EPA boss has been saying. She's been asking for helicopters and military and ammunition so that she can shoot to kill. Is that the way to go? My guest will have something to say about that this morning. At the table is Dr. Kweku Anani Jinde. He's lecturer at Gimpa Law School. He's a corporate governance expert as well. Doc, good morning. Welcome to the table.
Good morning.
At the table as well is Kofi Tonto, who is member National Communications Team for the NPP. Kofi, hi. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay. Love your smoke. But yesterday was Fugu. Did you wear smoke yesterday?
Well, actually, I have over 20 smokes.
Oh, wow.
So I wear them as and when I feel it.
That's nice.
I have a lot of friends in the north.
Right.
I have a particular friend called Razak in Tamale. And he sends me smokes, and Al Hassan in Tamale as well.
The Tamale people.
They send me smokes all the time. So I get to change up as and when.
Okay. The Zambians must be jealous.
Yes.
Because you have a lot. Abdul Fattah Al-Hassan Jofa is supposed to be here. He's the MP for END, and he's supposed to represent the NDC. That's about. And guess yalla babalene TND Alzamashang and the Bishadem Bebesone. So my guests are going to tell you what's on their mind in their various Ghanaian local languages on that campaign that GBC is on to speak our mother tongue and hand it down to our generations yet unborn. Let me start with you, Dr. Jinde.
Yeah, I'm going to speak my language, Mo.
Okay. Mo,
You
right.
find us around Kintampo, Bole, Bamboy area there.
All right.
And I want to say a good morning, a very good morning to you. Daga, nime ido kokwana ni Jinde, meaning the tray yatonone. That was a crowd, and they told the baby boy. All I want to say, can choro nime, na jubokoro, no more dompe, jubokoro. In the chair was a crowd, the people was well, Bubola, Egriana Pena, Ebimpong, as the Wumboa, a bunny baby waba in Germany.
Absolutely. Beautiful. Those are our languages, so this is who we are and how indigenous it is. Kofi, what do you have to say?
Me Asantini.
Okay.
Meka Asanti tree.
Me patcho you.
Well, I would just say, I think so. Not making kind story be on languages. And see, remember my boss said,
modesa initiative in so about my name say be anunti mo yes initiative ya story ne say about 44 local languages ebeko into extinction or near extinction. I think say more effort I bit me de ama yen kasa ye kasa no etimi abasro. But the question is then a basa. I think say ni nyina be basa awofo ne ne emofra no enka kasa no. Me mama wo ma abrochiri. Ade ba ko ha me ne say me ma be nyini no mo ntitwi kasa. Me ya santini omo ma me nso ya santini. Enti omo se ma wo mo abrochiri de but eso mo timi ka me krom kasa ade ha me a se me kofo mo ba Ghana cry for some time omo be sua twi kasa no
omo ma me kasa
mo try enti so mo be fia ebeboa
immersed in
yes. But even abrochiri cry no depends on where you live.
Okay.
So I call London across to London meeting me aka treat to say across to Ghana.
Oh, wow.
Because of how the large Ghanaian population over US me wo baby to say Worcester, Massachusetts. Even though the population no and big city be it's a medium sized city. But Ghanaian population no 70,000 people. You know, so baby abeko bia wo be share Ghana ni nti obi a obe nyini wo no sorry aye kone ade ne nyina nkra no nyina so esua omo kromo kasa titru twi kasa no nti ade a mebo maba so ajasisi amon
Ghana. Uncle Bishop Olukamza, and around the world you can follow the show. The president is billed to speak to the nation tomorrow, the 27th of February 2026. So expectations are high as what the president will say. What does the state of the economy say? What's the state of the security of the country? What are bread and butter issues that the president will touch on? And so tomorrow we'll bring you the live coverage of that. Let me begin with Dr. Jinde on what your expectations would be on what the president will come and speak on.
Thanks for having me. I have to be very honest with you. I don't have any expectations, because I've lived through this ritual for almost 18 years when I was a practicing journalist. It has always been the same story. So me personally, what I expect is maybe a lot of empty rhetoric.
Nothing on social policies, interventions, and how they are rolled out.
On very outrageous claims. And then just promises, because I've seen it and I've lived it when I was practicing journalism for 18 years. So I don't expect much. But if you ask me, I will put it this way. What I expect is a wish list. And my wish list is the completion of the Techima Bamboo Road. This is what I wish government could do.
Was captured in a big push?
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
But I understand there's some contractor on the road that they've started clearing. But the signs and signals I'm picking is that they've started, but they are not sure whether they can get the funding to finish it in the 2-year period that they've been giving. I spoke to somebody very high up. They started clearing the sites, but they said after the sites, they have to wait for some money. So I'll plead with my brother Mahama, you have to leave a legacy, because that's the road we use to travel home. So this I find as a legacy project. So we should try to do that. It's a wish list anyway. About, wishes are not horses. Yes. And then my other wish is the need for a national career. I travel a lot. Last year alone, I think I traveled about 4 times. And when you get to the departure lounge, you see how busy that place is. It means the traffic here is quite huge. But unfortunately, we are building airports, expanding them, upgrading them, updating them. But we don't have our own national career. It's just like a landlord who builds a very beautiful house, try to make all the best roads to his house, but he doesn't have a car. And we are losing a lot. The airlines some come here 5 times a week. some 3 times, 2 times. So what are we not taking advantage of this huge market that has been created? And it's also a sense of national pride. Eh? You see the Ghana flag, Ghana Airways in the air. You have that sense of pride. But I think at the beginning of this government, they said they set up a committee to look at the possibility or the feasibility of re-establishing or whatever Ghana Airways. But you see, that committee, I had a lot of issues with that committee because some of the members on that committee, they were those who supervised the collapse of Ghana Airways. So what new are they bringing?
How did they make it to the committee?
I don't know. So please, government should reconsider establishing Ghana Airways. I went to buy a ticket last week, and it was this disagreement about the dollar. She gave me that it was $1,200. So okay, convert it into Ghanaian cedis. I converted it into Ghanaian cedis using 10 Ghana. He said, no, we don't take 10 Ghana. They gave it to me 12 cedis, 40 pesos. So when I was incensed and I was questioning them, the lady told me, very sarcastic, that if you want a cheaper airline to fly, tell your government to revive Ghana Airways.
Those were her comments.
They were her comments. And she's a Ghanaian. If she had been a foreigner, Matite, you know me, I don't forgive her. She was a Ghanaian. Okay. So this is what we are going through. Please, my brother Mahama, leave a legacy. Techima Bambwe Road, and then Ghana Airways. Revive it, and then we'll be grateful to you.
Okay, that's a wish list. So there's more, but these are the two.
These are the 2 major ones. And then the other one, let's not forget. In ECG meters, prepaid meters. You know, where I live, I built the house for myself, but I realized that I cannot occupy it alone. So I decided to rent some part to other people because 7 bedrooms, right. I don't need it. So I applied for additional meters. And they were telling me 1 meter is 2,800 prepaid. Achimota, the one at St. John's, their station there, is it Accra West or is it 2,800 for 1 meter? It's not a new house. I'm just extending an additional meter. So I don't know whether it is part of the researching agenda or I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to go into the politics of it, but I think government should do something about it.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Jinde. I did see a story, one of the headlines talk about prepaid meters Valencia was reading. Bakofi, what are your experiences?
Yeah, so for me, as Prof said, it's a ritual, but I think it's an important ritual. At any material point, it makes sense for the president to address the nation. Essentially, it's an aggregation of major activities that have transpired over the last 1 year. And then also the president more or less sort of giving us a picture of what he expects to achieve within the next year ahead. And that's where usually, subsequent to that, the budget will follow, etc. So it's a good exercise. In fact, the Constitution enjoins the president to do so. And communicating to the people the state of affairs is something that we must definitely cherish and encourage. But I think it begs to, the question really is, what do we ultimately gain out of it? Are we even having a barometer to measure the promises and the talks to ultimately what we've been able to achieve? But I think it's a growing process. Ghana is still an emerging economy, a growing democracy, so things will definitely play out in the longest time. But once I'm a politician, I think I also want to discuss the political bit of it. I want to see the president's comment on living standards. I think over the last 1 year, we've been hoodwinked to believe that the dollar is down, that inflation is down. Of course, the data says so. I mean, if you look at inflation, Al-Hassan, as statistics is telling us, is 3.8. Interestingly, the Minister of Trade tells us or she tells traders to reduce their goods and services. So you ask yourself, where did Alhassan get the data from? If the Minister of Trade, yesterday, another member of parliament, Akotia member of parliament, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, was also, crying the same cry, basically saying that traders should reduce the prices of goods and services. But it is that same prices of goods and services that Alhassan at Ghana Statistical Service is using to calculate the inflation. So what data is Alhassan using? That your minister is crying, your MPs are crying, yet your data is saying that inflation is 3.8. Doesn't make sense. But that's a reflection of the true reality, what Ghanaians are going through. Because even though inflation says 3.8, of course we know inflation measures the rate of change, the rate at which prices are changing. Of course we know. But the ordinary Ghanaian is feeling the pinch. Is feeling the pinch. I buy yogurt at East Legon, one of the popular yogurt stands in East Legon. And they've increased it from 45 cedis to 50 cedis. 11% increment. But dollar is supposed to be down. Everything is supposed to be down. You go to the market, things continue to increase, sometimes higher than the inflation rate.
Imported goods or goods produced locally?
Both. In fact, some imported goods, to be fair, in some instances you see some decline. But then for some reason, some of them, they are rather increasing. But that's largely about predictability and the belief of the trader that is the dollar-CD relationship going to remain the same. That's predictability. So that's a different conversation altogether. But the bottom line is that goods and services, price of goods and services continue to increase. The president, since coming to office, has increased electricity by 27% in 1 year, water by 20%. Sustainability tax is an additional tax the government charges, especially companies, manufacturing companies and mining companies. They've increased it by 2% and extended the sunset clause from 2025 to 2028. The production companies will pass it on to you and I.
Even the fuel prices are also down, and that also has a major effect on.
Of course, no problem. Fuel prices have come down. Of course, if you look at the two build-ups, which is the currency, the dollar, and then also the world price. World prices have come down. Crude prices have come down about $60 per barrel. Our time, in 2022 March, it went all the way from $66 per barrel in February 2022 to $120 per barrel in March 2022. In a month, it doubled. So now, because of that shock, both OPEC and non-OPEC countries have ramped up production. There's enough production in the system. Demand far, supply far outstrips demand, so the prices have come down. And that's the pass-through for us. We are seeing declining. But even recently, there was a small jump, so the prices changed. Okay. But the point that I'm making to you, I expect the president to address the nation on the incongruent relationship between the supposed indicators and the real pocket impact. It's incongruent. They don't match. Your indicators are performing, but my pocket, okay. So we need the president to explain to us his plan to match his economic policies to the real living standard of the people.
Did you expect it to reflect in a year and, let's say, 2 months?
Why not? They said about Papa, but why? You want to look, the president has 4 years, so let's not forget. Ghana constitutionally mandates the president for 4 years. So every day counts. Every single day counts. So it's not about much more a year and 3 months. It must count for something. And they are bragging that about Papa. Meanwhile, you've increased services and charges of government by 30 to 40%. And whilst you have increased electricity by 27%, water by 20%, you've only increased salaries of Ghanaian workers by 9%.
Well, same government said they inherited a weak economy, and so it will take time to rebuild.
a weak economy. Ghana's economy was rebounding. We can go into the nitty-gritties of it. Of course, Ghana's economy suffered the worst shock in history. No two ways about it. But the fact remains, it is not me saying it. World Bank has said it. IMF has said it. That the Ghana's economy was rebounding. Things were taking a positive turn. You've come in, you've done what you have to do. You've injected over $11 billion in one fiscal year to prop up the currency. Al Hassan is doing some magic at Ghana Statistical Service. He claims that inflation is 3.8. How did you get the inflation at 3.8 if the economy is not doing well?
So it's the expectations for you are high because after a year and 2 months in office, you expect things to be everything.
I expect their rhetorics. I expect their policies to translate into real impact in my life.
Was that possible in your tenure?
In our tenure, yes, of course. That's why Ghanaians vote. No, that's why. Look, in fact, this government has benefited from the goodwill than any government in history. Some of the things they have done, including ransacking offices and all manner of things, Ghanaians have left them. They've not said anything to them. President Mahama has literally enjoyed goodwill. Nobody has criticized President Mahama until the recent cocoa matter. President Mahama has he's living large, enjoying himself.
We didn't have.
Look, when we came into power, we suffered criticism right away.
From when you took
right away. I can give you numerous examples. But Mahama is living like an Arabian king, enjoying himself until Randy Abe messed up a cocoa board.
Randy messed up.
Of course. He messed up because he made a terrible trading decision. We can go into it if you want us to. Terrible trading decision. But the point I am making is that it must translate. Number two, so that's on the economic side. Mm-hmm. Number two, I expect the president to come out and really make clear his plans for cocoa farmers. Okay. Look, you cannot hoodwink cocoa farmers, promise them heaven, and deliver them hell.
Promise them based on the situation at the time.
Which situation at that time?
That's what they said.
What was the situation? What they told you was that cocoa price per ton was $10,000 per ton. What they didn't tell you, the lie that they didn't tell you, was that it was a spot price. Prices change all the time. Doesn't necessarily mean that's what the amount you sold the cocoa at. Just as recently, cocoa went as far as high as $13,000 per ton. But it doesn't mean that's what we sold it at. Okay. But they used one singular spot price and based on that to promise the cocoa farmer. And they knew they were lying. What they should have told the cocoa farmer was that for all the tonnage of cocoa that we sold within that seasonal year, this was how much Ghana sold it for. But they didn't. They just gave you spot price of $10,000, even though they knew we didn't sell our cocoa at $10,000. So they based on that lie to make promises to the cocoa farmer. And then they came in and they have failed the cocoa farmer. They promised Eric Opoku sat on TV and said they are going to give a special free health care for cocoa farmers and their wives.
And I ask us 1 year, 2 months of them in the office. Don't you believe as politicians say that is in the pipeline?
If there is any gift you can give any human being, especially the cocoa farmer, give them health care first. Even if you are going to reduce their money, you give them health care first. Why? Hasn't Mahama started Mahama Cares? He's found money to do Mahama Cares. How about cocoa farmers cares? So the point I am making to you is that was a promise he made and he must deliver on that.
Right.
Have you heard about the borehole? That every cocoa farm, they will dig a borehole.
Okay.
Where is the borehole? These were the ludicrous promises they made. Number 3, security. It is only under President Mahama's time that we've had refugees in this country from his own hometown. President Mahama is from Savannah region. Just outside Sola Tuna Kaba, you go to Bole. I know the area very well because of the job we do.
Right.
So from Bole to Solar Tuna Kaba, just about 45 minutes or so. There's a town there, they had some issues, and 40,000 Ghanaians became refugees. 14,000 displaced. Almost 200 people died. President Mahama didn't visit that place.
His ministers were on the ground.
His ministers. 200 Ghanaians have died, and your ministers. He found money for Jamaica. He found money for Jamaica. And your own people, you don't even visit them. Your own countrymen, or in this case, kinsmen, who fearful, you couldn't go there. And then now the issue in Burkina. I expect the president to talk about the issue in Burkina.
Oh, he has spoken. The tomato traders, he went to visit the...
That's okay. I'm saying that this is a state of the nation.
Right.
He's spoken fine, but he needs to assure the nation that the territorial borders of our country are safe.
So for you, the president should be seen more proactive in addressing security issues, even though there's a whole apparatus there to handle agencies and all of that.
Look,
to handle.
My job as the former head of information and public affairs at Washington, I was a senior diplomat. Of course, I cannot discuss what I was privy to, but for conversation, I can just say that I know the efforts governments put in, or Akufo-Addo's government put in, to protect this country, especially at our territorial borders.
You don't see the foreign affairs minister doing that?
The foreign affairs minister, what is he doing?
I mean,
he can't. In any case, that is not
Israel,
even within
Gaza
his. That is not even within his purview. It's not even within his purview. But the point that I'm making is that the president must offer some degree of assurance. He must appoint a substantive minister of defense to take up this issue, work with the minister of interior and other agencies, national security, to make sure that we fortify our territorial. Because you see, if the jihadists are now brave enough to attack Ghanaians, of course, on a foreign soil, it tells you that it won't take long before they become brave enough to attack Ghanaians on Ghanaian soil. So something must be done, in my estimation, to sort of, make sure, offer
sentiments. I think I heard a security analyst say that it wasn't the Ghanaians who were the target, or who were...
These are some of the things for me that don't make sense. Look, if you listen to the narration, they knew that they were Ghanaians.
So the men they killed and
they knew they were Ghanaians. So if Ghanaians were not the target, they would have allowed them to go. Right. Look, perhaps in many instances that was the case. But this instance is telling us that they are having a change of mind in attacking foreigners as well as their own country people. And that is an indication that we must also change our strategy. We must also ensure
How do you feel about what put them in that situation in the first place?
What put who?
The traders, that they had to travel to Burkina to go and buy tomatoes when we have fertile land that they could...
Look, that argument is a worthy argument, but it's a nuanced argument. What Ghanaians often talk about is what in economics we call utaki, or excessive protectionism strategy, where we think we must produce every single thing we consume. That is not how nations are run. There is nothing wrong if we import some items to support what we have. So, for example, we produce tomatoes here. But if in our estimation, we think it is not what we have competitive advantage of, we can import it and focus our energies on what we have competitive advantage of.
Okay, which is processing.
It can be processing, it can be anything else. So we don't necessarily have to produce every single thing we consume. Let's find, let's say, 5 or 6 crops that we think we do so well in these crops, and produce it at the optimal level. Then even almighty America imports. So there is no crime in importing. The bottom line is your trade balance. How much are you importing versus how much are you exporting? Are you at a positive trade balance or negative trade balance? But importing in itself is not bad.
Okay.
It depends on how you do it and to what quantity and the necessity.
All right.
So we grow tomatoes here, but maybe they have a special kind of tomatoes that can augment what we have. There's no crime in it. Of course, we have to trade with Burkina. They also come here and import something. That, for me, is not the issue. Okay. The issue is when the farmers or the traders were going there, didn't we have national security in this country? When national security was busy arresting Abronye and Wuntumi, what were they doing about picking intelligence and warning our sisters and traders that, look, at this material time, you cannot go here. They were busy arresting Kofi Ofosun Kansa. That is the crux of the matter. Advance and intelligence picking, and then offering what we call advisory. The U.S. does it all the time.
Okay.
Even Ghana, remember at the time they issued an advisory against Ghana. So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, working in collaboration with these security agencies, could have issued a travel advisory. Right, look, and Ghana as a government can even put in place some mechanisms at the border, and when our people get there and tell them, look, we will not advise you to go there, etc., etc. These are the critical things.
Granted,
in my opinion.
No lives must be lost, absolutely. And this is what the TCDA in that investment summit they were talking about. Kofi has talked about the crops, the major ones that we think that, can bring us all the revenue that we need, like the cocoa, which is in crisis currently, cashew, shea nut, and all of that. I want us to move, gentlemen, since you have spoken on what your expectations for the State of the Nation's address, which will be happening tomorrow, will be, to other issues concerning health. And it's the Speaker of Parliament who is talking about absentee doctors to be removed. The Health Minister has said that, but the Speaker has also been talking about the emergency care law after the engineer's death, sparked national outrage. So in Parliament, he called for an urgent enactment of the emergency care law to address what he described as needless deaths of accident victims at health facilities across the country, be it no beds, ambulance services. He said the legislation would ensure that negligent health workers are held accountable and prevent what he termed recurring misconduct within the healthcare system. We do know that some of the nurses and the doctors who were complicit in this situation have been handed over to the authorities or the police. But also I want to tie in the absentee doctors to be removed from the payroll, because we have been seeing in the news that doctors are refusing postings in certain parts of the country. And the Minister of Health, Kwabena Minta Akando, said this exercise had become necessary in order to remove doctors who had declined postings to these deprived communities from the national payroll. Rajende, what do you make of these two issues?
See, when I read the story, those absentee doctors, I got the impression that, well, maybe they were working somewhere and they refused to go to work, and then they've been taking salaries. But what you are telling me now is totally different. Yes. You see, when we are framing our narrative, we have to be very careful, because when I just read the headline, I thought the doctors were taking money without going to work. You see, that's true. Everybody should recognize this reality, that we are together to build a country. So if you've had a chance of going to a medical school, using our facilities, which were paid for by the taxpayers of this country, at least you should have that sense of patriotism to also go to some of the rural areas and do some service. But if doctors refuse to go, sometimes it's quite understandable. Some of the areas are so deprived.
Oh, that's why I hear there are incentives for you.
Well, I know there are incentives. But you see, everything that we do, we have this mentality. Our planning, our thinking process is very much Accra-centered. We think Accra is Ghana and Ghana is Accra. So everybody wants to live and work in Accra, which should not be the case. So if there are a lot of incentives to encourage them to go to the other areas, well, you are just saying it. I don't know how far through those incentives, what you are saying, what you are not claiming that there are incentives. I don't know that to be a fact. But if there are indeed incentives, well, threatening them with some of these sanctions is not the way forward. You engage them, you talk to them, and appeal to their conscience and goodwill. Right. Because they've taken an oath to protect life. irrespective of where life is threatened. So it's a question of engagement. But issuing these directives, and I don't think that is the way forward. You engage them and you convince them why they should go. And I also plead with our doctors. You also have to take into cognizance the fact that all of us cannot live in Accra. Your mothers, your grandfathers. I know some of them also come from rural areas. It's not everybody who comes from Accra or Kumasi. So it is a question of engagement and then talking to them and appealing to their conscience and their sense of patriotism.
Should there be a scheme to target doctors from these rural areas to find a way to have them stay there? There's a University of Development Studies in the northern part. There's KNUST, there's University of Ghana. There are other universities that train these doctors. Could that be the way to?
Well, it should be one of the ways. But you see, when it comes to human behavior, it's not everything that you can legislate on.
Right.
When it comes to controlling human behavior, you cannot make laws to govern every aspect of human conduct. So sometimes it is important to use what we call the non-legal means of controlling or changing behavior. That is through proper engagement, appealing to them, and then giving them incentives. You should give them the reason why they should go there. I also know that, well, you've been trained with the taxpayers' money, but still, because we want to go there, we put certain package in place that will encourage them to go. And I know one pharmacist at the polyclinic in Bamboy. I went to my brother's place, the chief of Dubai. She came there to buy a piece of land. I said, Madam, why you want to that? Oh, doc, since I've been here, I've enjoyed the place so much. It's so quiet. So I've decided to buy a piece of land and then build my home here. So it depends on the incentives and then how welcoming those communities are. So sometimes it's a whole discussion we have to engage in.
Right.
But if you just sit in Parliament and you begin to issue edits, directives, let's legislate on this. No, that's not the way forward. But I think there should be a room for engagement. We should engage them and then appeal to their sense of duty and conscience. And then their sense of patriotism. Right. I think that is the way forward. And when it comes to emergency,
the emergency healthcare
I've had a personal experience with emergency services in Ghana. I got sick, I fell, and I was rushed to Rich Hospital. I was there for 45 minutes. There was no doctor to attend to me. Wow. Emergency, I was on a wheelchair. I was gasping for breath. But God being so good, one of the gentlemen who sent me, told me, Doc, the HR director is here, is your student at Gimpa. Let him call him. So he called him. He called. That gave me 2 minutes. After that, all of a sudden, whether they came from heaven, they were all of a sudden there were about 5 doctors around me. So assuming I didn't know anybody to make that call.
Who you know or who knows you.
Now, you see, what I found very offensive was the gentleman himself drove and then he made the nurse. That old nurse. When Papa, this is my father, he taught me law at Gimpa and I take it my. That I said, so by anyone, none in where you.
And somebody struggling for breath.
Oh my goodness.
You see, this is what we go through. So it's a question of giving them the proper training. The work ethics. That if you are working, you focus on the patient and not do what's up throughout. So I think you can legislate, but the individual conduct at that particular facility, it must make the difference. Right. You can put all the laws in place, but if the people are not prepared to do what they are required by the by their work contract, I mean, you can make all.
So punitive measures like what has happened is the way to go.
Well, punitive measures. If we post you and then you don't want to go, we engage you, we appeal to you, and you don't want to go. Well, it means you are not prepared to work. So what should we be on our payroll? Because at a point you have to crack the whip. First, you start gradually. When you want to change behavior, you start gradually. You don't start from the top. You start gradually, encouraging them, engaging them. But at a point, you have to draw the line. But if either you comply or we crack the whip.
Right.
Because in every society, every law that you make, if there's no sense of punishment behind it, if there is no punitive intention behind it, people will go wayward. But you don't start from the top. So I appeal to the Minister for Health. It should also be mindful of his statement. You see, you are talking to adults, people who have gone through 6 years of training to become medical doctors. But if you just think you are doing SRC politics, university or news politics, that is not for the national level. So sometimes they should change the way they communicate with some of these professionals.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Jinde. I just want our viewers to know that we're expecting a lawyer, Jofa, to join the show. Abdul Fattah Al-Hassan is the MP for Yendi to speak for the NDC. When he does join the show, if we've not wrapped, you will see him at the table. Kofi, let me come to you now on this medical negligence or emergency negligence and then the postings of doctors.
Doc, Akando is behaving like what he said on his resume.
Okay.
A dining hall prefect.
Okay.
You know.
So we are waiting for you to explain what you mean by that.
But that's what you put on a resume.
And what are the qualifications or the characteristics of a dining hall prefect?
It's exactly what he's showing. You see, in dining hall, the prefect, you have to show machoism, who is going to get some of the food, who is not, that kind of behavior. Those who went to secondary school, they know. So you can't apply that level of leadership to the level of leadership he's supposed to occupy now. This whole issue is largely centered around the type of society we live in. The hospital issue is just one leg of the bigger problem. Ghana is what we call a high-powered society. And high-powered societies are usually found in emerging countries where your relevance is established the closer you get to power. Your importance is established the closer you get to power. So it's like everybody, the rich people and the bourgeoisies are here.
The haves.
And everybody is chasing that ladder. So society and services we offer are linked to how high you are.
Yeah.
And it determines whether you will get something or not. So even in our churches, you realize that problem exists. So when you go to church, that government worker who is a director or chief director or whatever, and there's a perception that they have money, they become the elders. Yeah. They become the advisors. They become the decision makers of the church. In fact, they determine whether a pastor will stay or the pastor will go.
Is that too bad? Because when you need money in real time, they will bring it up?
No, you see, societies must be built on several factors: merit, conscience, morality, values. The moment you allow somebody to use money to determine what happens, I say a family where there is a busuapenyi, but Nuaketwa is the final determinant because Nuaketwa is the one who has money. Mm-hmm. There's chaos in the family because it takes a lot for the busuapenyi to bear the emotional challenges to allow the Nuaketwa to have his way. Mm-hmm. And sometimes the busuapenyi becomes simpapenyi. Because you are the penny, all right, but the younger one is determining everything for the family. And you have to comply because and that behavior translates into every facet of our society. Every facet, even in our secondary schools, even in our universities. Look, in our universities now, the students are calling themselves His Excellency and Her Excellency.
For what?
For the various SRC president and various all of that is what translates into what happened at the hospital. Because the young man that came, if it was Kofi Tonto and they saw me, they would have attended to me because Kofi Tonto is a public figure. They didn't know Charles Emisa. Who is the guy who passed?
Just like they didn't know Dr. Anani.
Exactly.
Till
but guess what? Somebody. In the grand scheme of things, Charles was an engineer, probably offering higher quality to national development than me, who is a talker. I just come and sit here and talk. Of course, I have my technical skills and all. But in the society, I'm a politician. That is the crux of the matter. From police to the military to our families to even how we form friendships. It's all largely centered on how high you are to power. And that is why even the media is compromised. A political party comes into power and you see the entire media fraternity shifting. Until they get burned, they don't get anything. Then they shift to the opposition.
It's not because of ownership, because that has also been a concern.
Which ownership?
Politicians owning of the media.
That is one aspect of it. But my sister, I work with media men and I know.
Okay.
And no media person can challenge it because you see, the system is designed in such a manner that it frustrates the media person as well. So you always have to chase the one with the most resources. It's not their fault. You look, that is how emerging societies with no proper structures are designed. That you stifle people of resources, so they must chase the person who has it. So people become relevant in society because they have some resources. And that's why you see celebrities emerging out of nowhere. You don't know what they have done. Just because they have some money, they become celebrities in this country. This is the society, and so this is just a minute aspect of the bigger problem, except this has to do with life, which we cannot overlook.
Why haven't we gotten to the point? Because, I mean, we have brilliant policies. They'll say, oh, it's not really laws, and they are brilliant laws. It's the, applying it. And there's the West, and what they do
with law and application has everything to do with our way of life and our way of thinking.
Right.
That we think, if I am closer to this person, why did they say that? Why didn't you introduce yourself? What has his introduction got to do with healthcare delivery?
Because how about maybe they think you don't have the money to care for yourself?
But that's why that's why we did away with cash and carry. That's why we came up with health insurance. Look.
Before even administering first aid, they are asking about money.
Yes, exactly. So the point is, even if the person has a chronic disease, which will require surgery or other things, at least they call it triage. Once the person comes in, you have to triage. And then you label whether the person is a red, yellow, or green.
Right.
So if the person is a red, then you know that you must immediately go into a surgery room or whatever room to take care of the person.
We have to wrap up. I want you to, in a minute, touch on the postings of the doctors. And then
okay. So for me, the postings, I think it's a matter of really, Akando needs to sit down and find creative thinkers, not necessarily politicians, to design a creative package for the doctors. Okay. Look, if I'm a doctor, and government tells me they are going to give me a Prado, and build me, they can quickly build a 2-3 bedroom nice house, fit with TVs, certain aesthetics, and give me that package,
right? And
then even commit me to a year or 2 years. You don't have to commit the person for so long. Okay, we'll commit you for a year. This is your Prado. We are giving you an assistant. So go 1 year. Within the year, the least we can extend is 6 months. We'll replace you.
We have the resources to provide.
Why not? Why not?
Okay.
Look, I'll give you one example. We bought $240 million worth of sanitary pads for young girls.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with investing in health or hygiene for young people. But the sad thing is that it was of inferior quality.
Was it?
Yes, and the minister has instituted an investigation into it. So what it means is that we spent money on something for young women, over-bloated the price, and it came back with a poor quality.
Okay, so
we take some of that money to buy proper cars for the doctors to go to these places and go and work.
Find creative ways.
Don't even make it legal. They should find a young woman like you and young people, create something, give it to the Gen Zs.
I'll
create a solution for you.
The Jazzies. Thank you so much, Kofi. Hopefully the minister is listening the recommendations that my panel
that has to be high level
have given, on the State of the Nation's address, what the expectations will be, and the healthcare system, emergency healthcare, and postings of medical staff to rural or hard-to-reach areas. I've been speaking to Dr. Kweku Ananijinde, who is a lecturer at the Gimpa Law School, corporate governance expert. Kofi Tonto speaks for the MPP, National Communications team. We're expecting lawyer Abdul Fattah Al-Hassan, who didn't make it to the table, speaking for the NDC. I'm Altiti Saida Sadek, and my costume is by Boatmes Collection. You can find it everywhere. Birthdays is up next with Jay.